Welcome back everyone to another video with Argo. I'm D-Rec and today we're going to jump right into another feature match. This time around will be for premium format. So on the right we have player 1 using Luard for Shadow Paladins, and then on the left we have player 2 playing Gold Paladin with all of the new support out of the ultra rare set. So starting off we're going to have the Gold Paladin player go first. He's going to ride into Gareth and then call OG Criff to the rear guard circle with the Forerunner skill, and then pass the turn after that. We're going to have player 1 go into Blaster Javelin. He's using OG Full Bow. So for those who don't know what OG Full Bow does, essentially it's like the ride chain back from OG BTO4 way back when. It allows you to search out Blaster Dark if you ride Blaster Javelin over it. So a really good way to guarantee the grade 2 ride, especially the more optimal one, especially getting that twin drive effect at your grade 2 turn. So swinging in for 8k with no guard, he gets the grade 3 he needs, and player 2 gets the defensive critical trigger, and then goes into his grade 2 turn, off-riding the Wonder Ezel instead of getting Bowman like he needs to make the whole combo work. Really not a good sign for the early game rush, but he can still keep up a little bit even if he misses that opportunity to superior ride. So not too big of a deal there. So riding into Blaster Dark, he's going to retire the OG Criff starter so that he can prevent the Gold Paladin player from using that combo to superior ride into Ezel. So, calling out the Abyssal Owl to the rear guard circle as a booster, he's going to use that to search out for the Luard that he's playing. In this deck, he is playing Drag Heart Luard, not Drag Fall. Some people still like playing the old one just because of the ability to call in mass versus have the ultimate stride and retire option. So, dealing 2 damage off of that twin drive check, it's now 3-1, and the Gold Paladin player now going into his grade 3 turn here. He's going to ride into Blonde Ezel and get the Excel marker there. And then, since he can't stride, he's going to be able to do some calling and doing some superior calling plays during the battle, which would be pretty good for a good semi-rush tactic, especially since player 1's still at 1 damage. So, calling the Bowman off of the attack with Blonde Ezel, still really big shame that he wasn't able to get that for his grade 2 turn. Really made the difference between being able to stride and being able to not stride. And then having the extra Excel marker would have been really nice too. So getting the heal trigger there, bring it back down to 2. Player 2 deals 1 damage to the Shadow Paladin player there. Calling the Stride Fodder from hand off of Haugen's skill, and then swing in with Bowman for, I want to say that is 32? 22 off of his own skill plus the Excel marker, and then the 10k trigger. So yeah, 32,000 at Blaster Dark. So that's going to be a 25k shield there. And contemplating if he wants to guard. He's going to guard, but he's going to still let it hit, so that puts him at Ritual 2 after he strides, and he gets the defensive heal there, which will go off. Now putting them both at 2 damage. He's going to ride into Drag Heart and stride, Hard Stride, pitching the Nemain and the Blaster Dark in his hand. Going into Orgeyser Doomed, really good first stride setup for pretty much every Luard build. Good way to really build a lot of hand, especially against decks that aren't going super fast. In this case, it was a really good option to go into that since the Gold Paladin player wasn't able to rush down really quickly. So this will allow the Shadow Paladin player to really build up some hand and snipe some targets and be able to clear some board a little bit. So calling out 3 Belial Owls, he's going to be able to plus 5 off of this turn here, off of the skill and the cards there. So gets the 2 cards there, gets the 1 retire, so he retires the Bowman on Excel, and then draws 3. So essentially a plus 7 for the turn. Then he's going to call the Cursed Raven there to check top 2. Really good way to just cycle that back into the deck and make sure that he has pretty decent trigger probabilities going into future turns down the road. So I see that he has the grade 1 Rip 7 14k attacker in the heal, so he calls the grade 1, puts the heal back, and then calls the Dark Dictator from hand. Decent backup, but I know some builds don't really play backup grade 3s and Luard, so this is a bit of a different build to see. Going into the attack with the rear guard first for 13k, for the 5k guard. It looks like he's going to take the attack, does not get the defensive trigger there, and then player 1 swinging in for 26. Player 2 G-guards and uses Slay Me Flare, putting back the Stride Fodder to then be able to get 2 extra Guardians to the circle there. So, ideally he would want like a grade 0 trigger, and he's got the one there, the crit for 15k, and then the Howl from set 7. So, really cool. That's an extra 20k shield on top of the 15k, putting that at 47. So that's going to be no pass there for player 1. So getting the stand trigger first, And a second stand trigger off the final check, putting Dark Dictator at 23k by itself. And it looks like player 2, looks like he wants to guard, he's not sure yet. He's going to guard with, I believe that's just a generic heal trigger, so he doesn't actually use the G-guard effect. So, ending his turn and now going into player 2's turn. Player 2 looks like he's going to rewrite. He's going to rewrite another Blondezel, get a second Excel marker there. And he's going to stride with the stride fodder, so really good options. He's going to go into Helios, of course. Now that he'll be at GB3 with a skill, he'll be able to get the guard restrict and the quad drive. So checking top 3 with Henrius, and then calling, I believe that is another Gareth, so that'll be an opportunity to plus right there to get the extra 10k power for Gareth, making that a 28k attacker. And then technically 31 because of Henrius' skill, since he does have a Gurgwit Vanguard now, he'll be able to do that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there was an errata at some point for Henrius way back when that says that he only gets his skill off if he's placed from deck. I'll have to double check that. I'll leave it in the comments if that, or in the description area if that's the case, just to make sure that no one makes that misplay if that is the case. I'm not too sure. I do remember some sort of errata happening for some of the Gold Paladin support out of set 8, but drawing a bit of a blank on it at the moment. So, player 1 just double checking that there. Now, he's got a pretty buff board, not super big. He's missing 2 just primary front row attackers outside of the 2 Excel markers, but that's fine because the 2 in the front on the Excel markers will still have the power buff, making it a decent attack turn. Not super great for what Gold Paladins can do, but it's definitely something. Swinging in for, I want to say that's 37 with quad drive and guard restrict. Player 1 is going to take the attack, getting the crit there, giving the crit to Vanguard and the power to Henrius, and then no additional trigger checks after that. And then player 1 getting the defensive stand trigger off of those 2 checks there. So now it's 4-3 with player 1 sitting at a 16k base Vanguard. Swinging Henrius first. He's going to attack Vanguard for, I want to say that is pretty hefty number. That's 32,000 at 16, so that would be a 20k guard for player 1. And then Gareth, is sitting at a pretty sizable, I want to say that's 28-31 as well, because of his own skill. So, yep, so he's going to guard for 20k there. He's going to guard with the Karen, and he's going to finally go with the Javelin as the extra guard there. So it's going to be 36-32, and then once again for 32, contemplating if he's going to take it. He is going to take it. He's going to get the defensive heal once again. Getting really lucky with these defensive heal triggers. They're really doing well to get the timing on that. But now going into his next stride turn, player 1 is going to recycle the Slap Tail and the Resist Grade 1. So pretty generic targets for this situation, just so that he can keep up the multi-attack plays with Dagda and having the front row plus for Abyss. So, using Dragheart's on-stride ability, he's going to call out a Karen. He has one more option here. He's going to call out another Abyssal Owl, so that's going to get him the counter charge for that. He's going to be still at 4 open damage, which really solid. It's going to cost him a Soul Blast, which isn't too big of a deal. Since the deck doesn't really play too much that does require a Soul Blast outside of Abyss and possibly Spectral Duke, the Spectral Duke Stride, which isn't even seeing too much play anymore anyway. So, gets that, counter charges, that becomes an 11k base in the right column, and then he's contemplating if he wants to call anything else out. He's going to call another Cursed Eye Raven out, using the skill to check top 2 again. Again, really good for recycling, really good for just setting up resources and being able to increase trigger probability going into his turn, especially as he deck thins with cards like Dagda and be capable of superior calling during the battle phase. So looking to see what he gets here. He gets, actually some pretty good targets here. He's got the Javelin, and I believe that is a Belial Owl from the top 2 check there. So he'll be able to draw one off of that if he decides to call them both. Awesome, so he does call both of them. And it looks like he's going to get the draw off of Javelin. And then if he uses anything to kill the Belial Owl, that's another draw right there. Just rebuilding some hand. So Soul Blasting for Drag Abyss. He is going to retire the belly level, so that'll be another draw opportunity there. He's going to call the slap tail, and he's going to call the resist grade 1 over the javelin he just called. So that'll filter and fuel the drop zone to get him at certain ritual cross status. So hopefully he can get to that ritual 8, I want to say. I think he's at 7 right now, but that'll give him a pretty much hefty plus 20k to the front row. Really good for just mowing down and getting pretty beefy attacks. Calling the the Curse Eye Raven once again, sorry. Doing some more recycling. Hopefully he can get some pretty good checks off this. The goal of this really is deck thinning, so he wants to filter for cards that he doesn't want to keep in the deck, and those look like both grade 1, so he's going to keep them both in the deck, and call the Dagda from hand. Now he's got the perfect board set up, really looking to get a good amount of attacks off this and really whittles some hand. If he can get a stand trigger off this, gets the Belly Owl out of hand to set up Ritual Cross, so he's at 8 grade 1s and drop. That gives front row plus 20k, and that'll be another draw opportunity with Dagda if he decides to retire with Dagda. So 1 damage there off of the slap tail attack, and then now Dagda swinging in for, I want to say that's 17, 26, 46. That's a pretty hefty number right there. Big 46 number. Swinging in at the opponent's Vanguard there. That's just a base 12. So he's going to take that attack as well. Get the defensive critical trigger for the 5th damage check there. And that'll put player 1 at Ritual 10. So getting pretty close to plus 30k. If you get a stand here, he will hit plus 30k to the front row if he uses Dagda skill once more and is able to do some stuff. But looking at player 2's hand, it's looking like a lot of hard shield. So that's a pretty hefty column over there, sitting at a number that I'm trying to count. There's 46 swinging from the Vanguard right now. He's going to perfect guard with Mark. Ooh, and that's just not a good set of drive checks right there. 2 grade 3s and a grade 2. No triggers whatsoever, especially no stands. That's really the tilting point for this whole combination. And that's going to really set up pretty poorly for player 1's next turn as he tries to play some defensive options that might be good pitch for PG fodder, but aside from that, I don't know what he's sitting with currently in hand. Player 2 now G-guarding with the unflipper G-guard. He'll be able to superior call something if the attack does not hit, which would be pretty optimal for setup plays going into next turn. So he'll be able to call the Gareth to Guardian Circle. Good booster for the next turn. And then calls an additional critical trigger to the Guardian Circle to stop that last attack. So unfortunately, player 1 was not able to finish it that turn. If he had just had 1 more attack or 2 more attacks, that might have been game. But unfortunately, he's going to have to play some defensive options here and really hope that he's able to stop all these attacks depending on what player 2 goes into. Striding for the turn. He's going to go into Glorious Raining Dragon. Really, really solid card now that we're in V-Series, just because he can now fill up a board relatively easily. He's going to call another Haugen to the back row there. And he's going to call Bowman to the front left. That sets up Unite status. So now he's looking pretty solid. He's going to swing Henrius first for 19. I want to say that's 19. So player 1's going to guard with the Belial from hand, swinging again for 18. He's going to double intercept with Slaptail and Dagda. Really not a good sign. If he's having to intercept like that, he's really trying to conserve on guard resources to make sure that he does everything appropriately for this turn. And with Glorious Raining skill, I believe player 2 will be able to call 5 new units out of a total of 7 that he gets to check with the skill, which will be pretty darn hefty. So, guarding for 10 or 21k right there with 2 grade 2s again. Unflipping for Glorious Rating there. He's going to check top 7 for some superior call targets. So, again, 5 extra units is just a really, or 6 extra units, sorry, he's at 6 face up in the G zone. So we have 6 opportunities to call some rear guards here, and that's just pretty much a full board at this point, because he's got, almost a full board. But he won't need a booster for the Vanguard at this point. So he'll have 2 full left and right columns on top of the 2 Excel circles in the front. Quite possibly a really, really aggressive turn here. Calling out the Ezel to the front Excel on the left, and I want to say it's a Sagramore on the right. And then he's going to call a Vivian to the front row there. He's going to call Militant Act Dragon to the top left, and then a booster for Vivian with Dindrain. So just double checking there just to make sure that people know that you cannot proc Sagramore or Vivian, off of the on-calls because they are specifically placed from hand. So still really cool to see him just fill a board like that, and then he'll be able to counter-charge Soul Charge with Glorious Raining skill there. So player 1 is really getting into the nitty-gritty, really double-checking to see what player 2 has already burned through, just to make sure that he doesn't overguard or underguard in certain situations. If he does not guard appropriately, he is not going to be able to survive this turn. So just double-checking the deck count there. And it looks like he is going to. He has the perfect guard, and I see that. He's going to perfect guard the attack. And that'll be it. So, first check here, he's got the critical trigger, and that's going to go to the Sagramore on the right. A second critical trigger, really, really good for player 2 here. And then the third check was nothing in terms of triggers. So, going into his last set of attacks here, he's going to swing Militant Act first, taking the damage. That puts the Luard Vanguard at 16k base, so a little bit helpful for player 1 there. So swing in with the Vivian Dindrain column there for 16, and then swing in with now Sagramore for, I believe that is 32. Player 1 needs 20k shield here to stop the attack. He's just double checking to see if he can do it. I see the heal trigger in hand, sorry. He will be able to G-Guard. If he does it right, he should be able to use, if he's playing it, he's going to G-Guard. He looks like he's going to go into Jolito and use her skill. So this will be able to let him draw an extra bit of shield in case he's a little bit short on that Ezel play, and that doesn't look too promising for player 1. Swinging in, he's unable to guard the last attack, and it looks like he drew a grade 3 off of the skill. Very unfortunate, especially with those 2 grade 3s he just checked. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.